Hey everyone, it's been a while, a little bit of a board game hiatus in terms of coverage or content on my channel. I'm aware of that. If you're also aware of that, but you're not part of the Discord, hop over there. I do try to be active on a daily basis there when I'm not traveling, but I'm using that as an opportunity to engage with the community just when I'm not able to do videos. However, today and possibly tomorrow and the next day, depending on how I portion this out, I've got some coverage for you, specifically early coverage of Path of Destiny. This is a Witcher universe game from Go On Board. They're the people that brought you The Old World, and this is their upcoming title on GameFound. This is Path of Destiny. And I wanted to, instead of doing one video with kind of comprehensive coverage over everything, I wanted to do some more bite-sized, smaller videos to share with you guys. Before I jump into the mechanics, which is what I want this particular video to be about, I'll give you a short overview if you're not familiar with this game or with the Witcher world. You are going to be immediately familiar with the experiences in this game if you have watched the TV show The Witcher with Henry Cavill, or if you have read the collection of short stories that is The Last Wish, which is, the original source material that the video game was born from, and all of these other adaptations of the Witcher universe. If you're familiar with either of those, you're going to be in a good spot in terms of identifying with the characters and with the narrative of the game. This is broken down into tales. So for example, out on the board here, I have got the Striga tale, which is involving King Foltest and Geralt the Witcher as he goes to try to potentially save or potentially not save this cursed princess. And then you have Edge of the World, which is another tale that you can explore that deals with the elves in the game and the Scoia'tael. And in particular, this one figure that haunts or scares off some local villagers, and which is the impetus for Geralt coming and investigating in the first place. So this is another tale. And then you have this third one called The Lesser Evil, and this involves Renfri and Stregobor, one of whom is a powerful wizard, and one of whom is a brigand or kind of a outlaw figure that is being hunted by Stregobor. And all three of these are pivotal moments in the TV show, if you've watched the TV show on Netflix, but they're also main storylines in The Last Wish collection of short stories. Those tales are ways in which you manipulate the base gameplay in here, and that's what I really enjoy the most. And now that you have a little bit of an idea, you have Geralt the Witcher, and you have other figures like Vesemir, who was his mentor and his teacher at the Witcher School. You have Ciri, which is kind of his ward, the person that he has pledged himself to protect. You have Dandelion, or oh goodness, what do they call him in the show? Got two different ways of saying his name, depending on what source you're looking from. But you've got Dandelion, and then you've also got Yennefer, the sorceress. So there are different characters that you can play in this game. I've got some of the player boards set up, like this is Ciri here with her player board. I've got Vesemir over here, the grizzled Witcher veteran, and the father figure slash advisor for Geralt as he goes on his adventures and deals with the work of hunting monsters. So Geralt is a witcher, he hunts monsters, but these are not necessarily monster tales. They are tales that may involve monsters to some extent, but they just revolve around Geralt's experiences and what he decides to choose for his own fate and for the fate of those around him, especially those that he may be contracted to deal with violently or otherwise. Let's talk about the card play. That's what I want this video to be about, is about the card play in this game. The Witcher Old World had card play centric to its design as well, but take out the visual and kind of campaign or large-scale adventure style and just kind of pare that back, and you have a pretty modular narrative design over here, and then you have the card play front and center. So if you've got the play mat here, the cards take up 2/3 of it. They are the beating heart of this game, and I want to explore a little bit how the tableau functions, how card drafting functions. So every character starts off with their own hand. You have Dandelion's cards over here, I've got Vesemir's here, and then in front of me I have Ceres. I'm partial to Ceres, I think she's a cool character, so she may be who I model most of my things with. So the cards in your hand and the cards that you may draft have a few things that you want to consider. You have the banner that's in the top left, and that is going to be colored red or green or blue or yellow, one of those 4 colors. And then you're also going to have symbols that match up to particular tokens and directions that you can push or pull a story. Those will be up top here. And then you might even have cards that give you additional options down below. For example, this one negates a symbol that you already have in your tableau to produce 2 of another type. And that's interesting because it means that no matter what you're playing, it's kind of like, I liken it to trick-taking. I think there are games where you are playing a trick-taking game, and the difficulty is sometimes you're dealt a bad hand. And I don't really think that that is as satisfying for players when you have designs that can make it to where you never have a bad hand. So there are trick-taking games that adjust the formula of how tricks and cards are played to where you can circumvent what seems to be a less than favorable hand dealt to you, and you can work around it and you can make things succeed. And in this, I feel that they have done the same with the sequencing or numbering of the banners that you might collect in your tableau, whether it's red, blue, green, or yellow. With the different symbols that you can create by playing your cards into your tableau, which might relate directly to the story, but might also not. And if they don't, that doesn't make them useless because they can still be negated to farm or create multiple other symbols of another type. They can be used to harvest experience points, which is very useful if you're moving up experience points, which allows you to unlock abilities that your character solely has. They're asymmetric player abilities. And then also, once you cycle all the way through the experience track once, the second time you're gaining victory points for the end game. So whether you're hunting for victory points, whether you're setting yourself up to unlock special abilities, whether you're wanting to transmute some symbols or icons into others that are beneficial in the direct moment, or whether you're simply just playing the right symbols that boost whatever you're trying to do in the story, there are ways to play the way that you want to. And I think that's really, really clever. So if I was to, for example, move into this Striga story, then I can open it up, and after you read the initial text, it sets you up for the first story as to what you're going after. So I'm going to go ahead and move these over here. Oh, sorry, I should probably have that there and that there. Whoopsie-doozy day. So there we go. All right, I have 2 symbols matched up. And though you can't see that, I will, for your sake, show it to you. It creates 2 branching ways that the story can go. And the story can go in either direction based off of the dominating symbol or token that is shown. So for example, in this one, you have the letter symbol, and then you also have the map symbol. So those are 2 different symbols that you can use in this game to push the story in one of 2 directions. And you've got these round tokens here, or these destiny tokens, where you can push the narrative in one way. Maybe one symbol by the end of 3 rounds is going to push off in this direction, and the other symbol only has 1 token and therefore is outweighed and pushed off to the side. And you decide, you dictate where the story goes based off of the overwhelming symbol that appears in combined tableaus across the table. And that's something that's interesting as well, is you might want the story to go in a certain direction, and you don't have to only rely on your own capability to do so. Other players might be playing into your hand, into your designs, by also pushing the narrative in a certain direction. And that means you have even more flexibility in your tableau because you're not the only engine driving the story forward. All players are doing so. Again, I think the card play is super clever. And that hasn't even brought up the fact of drafting. So you have your starting hand, but then over the course of each turn, the players are going to, in initiative order from top down, going to decide which cards they want to pull. And those cards might be chosen because you want to remove what the other players might be aiming for, or it might be because it benefits you in whatever you're building. You have cards at the beginning of the game that give you bonus points at the end based off of what cards you keep or other considerations beyond what you're playing in your tableau every turn. So there's additional considerations here based off of a starting objective of maybe you want to reserve certain colors of cards in your hand. And then you also have the different types of abilities that you're unlocking, which might play before drafting. It might play immediately after drafting. Every character's ability functions differently, and there's 4 of them. You start off with 1 unlocked, but you can unlock 3 others as you progress down those tracks. So for example, if I was to show you Geralt's board here, he's got his experience track up above. You start at 0, you push all the way to 20, and that unlocks the remaining 3 of your special actions. And then afterwards, you're going to make that cycle again, and this time getting gold victory points, which will boost you at the end of the game. And these are one-time abilities. You need to make sure that you use them when you want to. But again, it's this interesting core card play. You have drafting, where you take those cards to hand, and in some tales you might have an influence or effect on drafting itself, which I'll explain in a moment. But you have the drafting, you take those into hand, and then you decide what 2 cards you want to play at a time into your tableau. And the reason why 2 cards is important is because it means that you can create combos not only holistically across your tableau, but within a turn. Sometimes you want to really shift the scales of maybe which token, which icon symbol is being pushed. Maybe they're kind of like in a dead heat, maybe they're tied, and you're trying to nudge one more than the other, and so you need a quick way of tipping the scales. And you can do that with just 2 cards if you are lucky, if you're fortunate, and other players don't get in the way or interfere with your schemes. So that's a really clever way of both building your tableau faster, because you play 2 cards every turn instead of 1, but also it means your tableau has more opportunity to expand and to allow you to play within it. So you can make sure you sequence or match up a certain number of colors. Maybe you want 4 blue cards in your tableau, or maybe you want a certain sequence of cards in your tableau in terms of the colored banners at the top. Or maybe you just need some icons to be present to where then you can manipulate them using later cards or even same cards within the same turn. And I think that is what Go On Board does so well, is crafting an interesting core puzzle that then has a lot of permutations and ways to adjust it minutely across each gameplay to make it really interesting. So if we want to talk about the Striga, how does the Striga story, how does the tale of the Striga affect the gameplay? In this particular instance, you have these different additional scoring objectives that you get in the game. There are 4 different ones that you can potentially look at. You could look at all of them over the course of the round, but you have the opportunity to peek at what these end game objectives are by accumulating a certain number of banners in your tableau. You get 3 blue banners and you're the first person to do so. You get an experience, and you can check what that scoring objective might be if you push the narrative in that direction. You could look at that and peek at that, and then nothing happens with that resolution because the story is manipulated in a different direction over the course of the game. If you're the second person, you can still peek at the objective. You just need an extra color. So you're going to need 4 blue banners in your tableau instead of 3. And you get 2 experience for being the second person and having a higher threshold, but you still get to peek at the objective. So in this Striga tale, there are 4 different ways that this could go in terms of extra scoring options, and you're able to look at them based off of how you build out your tableau. So it's about the saturation of certain colors in your tableau over the course of the game. You might be able to get 2 of those in one round, or you might get 1 in each round and not be able to see the final objective. There are different ways that it could go, but the Striga tale has 4 different end-game additional scoring bonuses, and also it has like 4 different ways that the story can end. You can have 2 different types of aggressive endings. You can have 2 different types of political or mediating resolutions to the story. So that's a really interesting thing, and I like that for something I'll explain in the next video. But for now, I just wanted to show the ways in which each tale even adds a new twist on the formula that I think at a core level, at a base level, is already intriguing. It's already appealing to players, but every tale manipulates it. Every tale excites you in a different way because it plays a new note that you haven't heard before. In Edge of the World, which might be the easiest one of the 3 to learn the game, you actually have sequencing scoring that you can go on. So if you get particular sequences of colored banners, and that helps you learn a little bit how to maybe build an effective tableau, which is useful for later games. So Edge of the World has to deal with sequencing. Maybe you want a blue, a red, and then a yellow banner, and if you do that, you get a bonus from it. And then you have Lesser Evil, which in both the book and in the show is one of my favorite storylines because I think it is one of the most human, one of the most naturally visceral reactions as a viewer, as an experience in this world, both in entertainment and in real life, because you have to pick between 2 people. And it's so easy to think that the world is black and white, but most often it's not. And when that is the case, if you're picking one over another, you're leaving something hurt, you're leaving something damaged, you're leaving something broken by not helping the other side of whatever the dispute is. And in this, the dispute is between Stregobor and Renfrey. So the difference between this one is that in a regular gameplay, you're going to have this bonus experience token, which is kind of at the bottom. And the reason why that's relevant is the order in which you draft the cards. The places you go dictate the next initiative order for future drafting. So going down to the bottom, you're going to pick last next time, but you also get a bonus experience, which helps your track boost up. This is the only marker that interacts with the card tableau in regular play, but in the Lesser Evil tale, you also have a Renfrey and a Stregobor token, which means throughout the entire game, players are picking sides, and that can induce penalties, that can incur penalties in the game, which doesn't feel good on a isolated, abstracted sense. But when you think about the nature of the story, I think it's really clever because it's hard to pick sides and there's always going to be a loser. And in this, both decisions can be evil, and it's about what's the lesser evil. And that is a tough moral choice that players in the Witcher universe have to decide, that readers have to discern and evaluate while they read, and that as players in the Witcher universe in this board game, you're also interacting with the story in a pretty tangible way and deciding where you push it to, and you have to be okay with the consequences of your choices. So I think that's a really clever manipulation or design tweak that allows more interaction with card drafting. I've already talked way longer than I meant to about just the gameplay highlights, but I think it's really clever design here. I think Go On Board has a knack for crafting fun card play. They did it in the Old World. The Old World has, intriguing card design where you're trying to scale up and get the right deck for both navigation in the world and then also application when you're fighting monsters and when you're going toe-to-toe against other Witchers. So the card play in there is really intriguing, and I think that it's equally so in here. But I think that in this game, because you don't have the trappings of an adventure game, because you don't have the exploration across the world and the enormous amount of minis from monsters that you're fighting, and it's not as expansive, that means that it's maybe a more pure, distilled form of their good design their good design sense when it comes to card play is really what is on display here whenever you play. And I really, really enjoy that. And I'm excited to see all of the ways in which maybe possible extra tales that they reveal, the new things, all of the fancy stuff that they revealed during a campaign. I'm looking forward to seeing what is revealed, because I think the more that's revealed is going to further increase the amount of opportunities you have to explore the design here. It's been a while, guys. I missed all of you, and I'm glad to be filming a video, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this campaign unfolds. If you have any questions, let me know, but bear in mind that I may not know the answer to them, and that's what the campaign is for. So if you're interested at all in CD Projekt Red, in the Witcher universe, in what Go On Board is doing, they are a Polish studio that have become one for me to watch, and I'm really excited for Path of Destiny because it hits in a really good zone for the types of mechanics that I like, and also it doesn't overstay its welcome, which is really good when you have a fun game that plays well, plays at a good speed, and keeps you engaged. So I hope you guys have a good one. If you have any questions, let me know. And that's an alcoholic drink, so I don't know if I can do a timestamp on there. I don't want to, but timestamp. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.